Hi, my name's Andy Shenstone. I'm the CEO of NEBOSH, that's the National Examination Board for Occupational Safety and Health, and we're a global awarding organisation that provides certificates, diplomas, masters and other qualifications for the OSH professional. So today I've been speaking about visible felt safety leadership, and that is essentially about creating an aligned culture that values health and safety in the workplace, that gets our staff home safe and well after every day at work. So creating a vision is a really important responsibility for any leader in an organisation, about promoting the ideals and ideas of that entity. In the context of health and safety, what's really important is that there is a clear expression about what one's goal, one's vision is, in terms of applying that to health and safety in the workplace. Do we have a zero tolerance for injuries and workplace illness? How does our vision express our support for colleagues' personal development and growth in terms of health and safety? What sort of employer are we when we look at ourselves through the lens of health and safety? When we talk to our colleagues, when we communicate with colleagues, obviously we want to be understood. And therefore it's really important that whatever concept we're trying to communicate, in this context it's about authentic leadership, and it's about health and safety in the workplace, and it's about that being visible and felt. But what does that actually mean in practice? It's about individuals' lived experiences reflecting what we're trying to accomplish. But to be effective, we have to communicate very effectively. And it can be tempting at times, if you're an OSH professional, to fall back into the language of our profession. And that often can be quite coded. You might have a number of different TLAs, three-letter acronyms, which make perfect sense to you and your colleagues who've been through a similar training, but actually create a barrier between you and the audience you're trying to communicate with. So when I talk about effective communication in simple language, I'm not talking about dumbing it down, but it's about expressing it in terms that will be received and understood effectively by those to whom you're communicating. So context is really important for how we communicate. Well, empathy and consideration in this respect is very much about the lived culture of the organisation. And that's about leaders, managers, those in a position of responsibility, recognising that how they behave and how they are seen to behave around the organisation is really going to be seen and witnessed by their staff as being an expression of how they feel. So if I say one thing about how I feel about health and safety, but I then disregard those policies and procedures in the way that I work, then clearly I'm not being very credible or authentic, because, the words are this, but the behaviour is that. So it is about aligning the behaviours and the words. But in terms of empathy, what I'm also talking about is supporting a culture which allows us as leaders, enables us as leaders to support and understand where our workforce is coming from, and support them being candid about issues that they may face that may affect their health and safety that actually we need to be talking about. The worst possible outcome here is where there is an awareness amongst our colleagues in the workforce that there is an issue around health and safety, but they don't feel able to talk about it. And then after the event, after a possible tragedy, and after the inevitable review and inquiry, and when we are told that, well, we sort of knew about that, but we'd done nothing about it, or people didn't feel able to come forward. Whether you call it whistleblowing, or which is quite a strong term, but an important process for many industries, health, the NHS are very strong advocates of whistleblowing. It's all about that empathetic understanding of people's position, to be able to communicate and support that effectively. Support and recognition is about celebrating behaviours and engaging with the issues around health and safety in a way that we want to recognise in some meaningful way. It might be financial, it might not be financial, it might simply be around saying that, okay, how do our systems and processes in our organisation recognise and value staff contribution and performance? And where does health and safety behaviour sit within that spectrum? Are we only interested in recognising certain types of performance that might contribute to the bottom line? Of course, that must be important. Sales is important. Business growth is important. But how are we celebrating workplace culture and the role of health and safety in that? Because if we're not, and yet because of the nature of our industry, health and safety is important factor in our daily working lives, then we're missing an opportunity. And I would encourage colleagues watching this video to really think about that. Fairness and trust, that's about how does an organisation respond when it's told that there's an issue. An issue that it probably should take very seriously and proportionately and engage with, and ensuring that it is encouraging people to come forward with that feedback. So if someone has seen, oh, I don't know, a problem with a wiring system that everyone's known about for a while, but people don't like to talk about it because the reaction has been, yeah, we know about that, nothing's gone wrong so far. But actually what you want the response should be, you're absolutely right, we need to screen that off. That equipment must not be used until it's rectified. And then saying, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. And that will be reflected in how we appraise you, how we thank you, how we maybe even recognise you. These are the sort of things I'm talking about in terms of alignment. Continuous learning innovation is about the spirit of embracing continuous improvement within the mentality of any organisation. And what we're saying here is that the job's never really done. It just isn't. New staff come in and need to be supported and trained and developed. Our businesses evolve and grow, maybe into new markets or into new sectors, which bring their own different and distinct challenges. And we as individuals learn more about how we can be effective in engaging with some of these issues. So the job is never done. We have to continually reflect and seek out opportunities to learn and apply that learning to the workplace to get people home safe from work every single day.